Yes, y'all. You are here on the Unconventional Christian Podcast Show. My name is Ladun Thompson, and here today we have a good brother, Tyrone Daye.
Peace.
And I think we have some amazing conversation for you today, talking about a lot of things. But before we jump in, of course, I want to jump in with a prayer. If you can, wherever you are, bow your heads with us. Father God, thank you for allowing us to come here today. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your peace. We express gratitude for every single thing and allowing us to come here today to commune, to converse, to build. Father God, let this conversation be all kingdom work. Let us all be able to heal and move forward today, Father God. We thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
What's up, good brother?
Oh man, fresh off the flight. God is good, bro. I'm thankful for just being present today. Thankful for waking up to see the sunrise, and I'm just honored to be a part of this journey with you, man. How's your health? How's your spirits?
Man, I'm good, man. I can't complain at all, man. I think even this morning, just being in this space and being able to just have this conversation, to be on this podcast and be able to talk. Because me and you, I've known you for I'd say at least over 2 years.
Yeah.
But the real building in relationship has only began in this latter part of the fourth quarter of 2020. But now to be able to be in this space and to be able to have this conversation, I'm excited, man. Really, you know what? I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell us about who Tyrone is, who Tyrone Daye is.
It's crazy. So it's this organization that I joined back in, I think, in 2019 or 2020. No, in 2019. It's called Mastermind Connect in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And part of the application, it was something that said, "Who are you?" And I was putting all these accolades on there, like everything that I've done. I got a phone call back that was like, "Yeah, we wanted you to say that. We would have asked you that, but who are you? So until you let us know who you are, this application will be declined." I'm like,
right,
wow, that was kind of deep. So I was like, who am I? I really it took me about 4 hours to write something down, but then it came to the point I was like, I'm a man that's finally understanding his traumas and his triggers. I am a man that really know what healing is about now. I am a man that has been through the dark by himself and really figure out how to get to the light. By getting to the light, I found my lightness in the dark. A lot of people say, okay, well, we finally see him now and things of this nature. But the thing about it is you weren't privy to my light yet.
Right.
And that came with a lot of pain, a lot of frustration, a lot of tears, a lot of mistakes, just unknown knowledge that I didn't have before because I was just blinded by being so empathetic, so always supporting others and not knowing how to pour back into my own cup. I'm a man that's learning to redefine Black masculinity every day. I am a man that just constantly continues to grow and evolve by just being a student forever. So Ty is just redefining himself every day, man. I think every day I wake up, I always try to be a better me. Well, not even try. I'm always being a better me. It's all about changing the narrative. And it's just it has been a beautiful journey. I mean, beautiful consists of a lot of different energies, a lot of different frequencies and vibrations. But joy always came in the morning for me. And I thank God, because it was sometimes that I lost faith in him, but he never lost faith in me. And it's always, he always finds ways to bring me back. Right. And so that's pretty much who Ty is. Ty is a person that came from trauma and is telling his testimony today.
I mean, me knowing you, I know that, like, I've seen you in action, and personally, when I look at you and I think of who you are, I see a healer. You know what I mean? Now, I think that when I think of what you do, like, a lot of people don't, you know, and people are being privy to who you are now, because in the next couple years, I think I see so much more for you. You know what I mean? And being a yogi, as some people would call it, tell us as a black man, how did you get into yoga?
Oh man, so that's a story. So 2010, the former mayor, Cory Booker, he had something that was called the Biggest Loser Challenge for city employees. And, you know, it was pretty much whatever your goals were, your nutrition goals, like your weight loss and everything like that. So he had an array of extracurricular activities that the Newark employees can apply for. So one of them was yoga, but I wasn't taking that. Like, I used to just walk past it because it was just all women in there. So I used to just go to the gym or just work on changing, like, my nutrition habits and stuff like that.
Right.
But then it was one time the yoga instructor caught me, like, passing through the door, and she's like, hey, like, you're always passing, why you don't come in? Because you know, there's all women in here and I'm not trying to be a whole creep, you feel me? Like,
right.
That's a black man in here doing yoga and stuff like that. So she made an example out of me to bring me in class, put a yoga mat right in front of class, and was like, no, you're gonna do yoga today. I'm like, I don't think this lady knows who I am. But it was a 6-month period of time, and it was over. I was using it more for, like, flexibility because I play basketball and other things and stuff of that nature. Okay. And so she's like, yo, you're pretty good. Like, you should really think about doing yoga a little bit more. I'm like, nah, lady, I don't know anybody in Newark that's black, and that's a man that's doing yoga. And she was just like, all right, well, watch this practice find you again. Mind you, this is like 10 years ago, right? So in 2018, I went through a series of trials and tribulations. You know, I'm not going to get in depth, but it was pretty much like family stuff, on healthy relationships, job-related things, you know, to the point I didn't even know who I was anymore.
Right.
It was, I was lost. A lot of people left me in my darkest hour. People I used to get a shirt off my back to, money to, support. But I think it was much needed. The real one stayed. One of my boys, he was just like, yo, Ty, you might need to go get some therapy. And I was not with it. You know, I don't like talking to third parties. I'm a private person. But it's like, you know, I didn't want to always go to my friends and my family because I felt like it will always be one-sided. So I went to therapy, and, you know, I didn't realize how much layers of trauma and stuff that I had, right? So, you know, I had to really, like, go in solitude and, like, really work on self. So in 2019 came, January 2019, a fellow yogi of mine said that, yo, you should try to do some yoga. I see you doing kickboxing. I see you always in the gym. You need some type of balance. So I went to my first yoga class back in 2019. Since 2010, it was a hot yoga class. So I'll tell anybody, do not let your first class be a hot yoga class. Like, I felt like I sweated out like a whole person. I didn't even know what was going on. Like, I was drenched. Like, I was just ready to get out of there, right? But it was in that moment when I was in Savasana, which is like our meditation pieces, our corpse pose. Right. And I really knew what being present meant, like being in the here and now.
Right.
And so I was like, wow, I need to start adding this more into my practice. A couple other things happened during my journey while I was starting doing yoga back in 2019. A lot of past things came back, almost put me back into a dark time. You know, I'm vulnerable now. I'm more open for information to receive and give. Right. And, you know, I didn't know how to take those things. And I'm like, oh, man, what am I about to do? But yoga probably kind of was like that focal point, right? That platform. So I say around fall 2019, I started going to Power Flow. Okay. And Bloomfield, actually, in Bloomfield, before I was going to Power Flow in Hoboken. And then my teacher was saying, Yeah, man, you catch on very quickly. Have you ever thought about doing like the YTT training and things like that? I was like, one, I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, nah, the yoga teacher training, and this. I think this, mind you, this is a white lady, right? Like, she's like, yeah, this would. I think you'll be a great experience, like for the community and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, black men don't do yoga. Like, this is like something private, right?
Right.
But I think that was the problem, that there was nobody in the city, no black men in my city doing yoga. And maybe that was the solution I can bring back to my city. So 2020 came, I started my intensive program in April, and now I became the first black male yoga teacher in the city of Newark, man. I'm honored. I'm thankful for that. So many doors opened up for me after that. I thank Powerful. I thank Honors Yoga. I thank all my mentors that guided me into this space. But the thing about it is only the beginning. Like, people have been thinking I've been practicing for years because of who I am and everything. I'm like, right. Nah, bro, my work and my practice is just different, because I got to go hard, not just for me. I'm going hard for my city. Right. Yoga is bigger than me. Like, I got to bring this to these young black boys and young black girls, because it's not just about movement with the body, it's movement with the mind, it's movement with the spirit.
Right.
And that's why, like, I open up these spaces for black men to come in, to be vulnerable, to show we're creating safe spaces for men to just be them. You know what I mean? We ain't got to wear no masks. We ain't got to act like we tough. We got to come work tough. We got to wear our book bag tough. We got to brush our teeth tough. Right, man, we could just be, bro. Like, just be. It's nothing wrong with you expressing emotion. So, yeah, man, my yoga journey's still going. I got some big announcements that's about to come up later next month.
You can drop them here if you want
to. Something global is about to drop. Something that came with the pen and the pad, that's about to drop. Some page turners. And maybe some camera shots, man. Like, I'm just, you know what? I'm just trusting God, man. He finally found me a lane, and I'm staying in it.
Fire. And that's important, man, because that's what life is about. You know what I mean? It gets to a place where you have to be able to kind of like let go. You know what I mean? And let God lead, because a lot of times we put so much emphasis in trying to want to do and what our spirit tells us to do, instead of sometimes releasing and letting God lead us in the journey. You know what I mean? I like to double back on a few things you touched on, because you did drop like a million bars like in that last run. You talked about traumas from your past. Like, would you like to elaborate on like the traumas? Like, because I think one of the biggest things that's occurred in our communities is that we're unable to deal with a lot of the childhood traumas that we deal with, or we internalize for so long, because we're coming up as a community. We don't have the luxury that other races may have when it comes to dealing with trauma. And even more, we are, as a group, as a people, we have, not to say that we have way more trauma to deal with, but we have way more trauma to deal with based on this country, based on how we grew up. You know what I mean? We started off in a place of lack. And that's I think for people like us who grew up in Newark, who grew up in a hood, you know what I mean? It's just, we grew up and we started with a bit of a setback, and those setbacks came with a lot of traumas. Yeah. Now for you, I'm not sure if that's something you want to talk about, but like, what type of traumas, like, do you, feel like kind of held you back, or what built you up to be who you are today?
So I also do poetry, right? It was a poem that I talked about, just like mental health and like the causations with what's happening within my city. Like back in the 90s in Newark, that was kind of like some rough times, right?
Right.
So there was a part in one of my poems that how I see more caution tape than ribbon cuttings, how I've seen more funerals than weddings. And, you know, coming off the 31, coming back home, like living in the West Ward, like I'm from the number street. So if people are familiar with the number streets, like you just know the narrative and the code over there.
Right. You know, back then it was like, if you met a girl or something and you like, where you from? She said, I'm 17th Street. All right, cool.
Yeah, you stay over there.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, you good. I'm not going over there. It's just crazy, like sometimes how, you know, you come off the bus and you seeing memorials, like you're not seeing like people just laughing, you know, you're seeing these health stores and stuff like that. Nah, man, you know, we
grew up by 17 chicken shacks.
Yeah, 17 chicken shacks, liquor stores, Chinese spots, hair salons, barbershops, all the bodegas in the world. But the thing about it is that's all I knew, right? Like nobody wasn't knocking on my door like, hey, you wanna go do some meditation? Like, hey, you wanna do some yoga? Hey, you wanna do this? Nah, I mean, I was around the gang affiliated piece around that time. But lucky I had a village, like I grew up with a village that try to keep us away from those things, right? But, you know, we still have to come back home and still see those things with our own eyes. Like when we see like somebody passing or somebody getting shot or getting jumped and stuff like that, like we're numb to that, right? It's like, oh, I mean, it's the neighborhood. It is what it is. But, you know, a lot of things happened to me back when I was younger. Like I said, I thank my dad and I thank my mom for making sure they was always trying to protect me back then, making sure I stay away from the gangs, make sure I stay away, even though it was bound for me to be there, especially when I was becoming a teenager.
Yeah, you're going to experience it regardless.
Right, I was a rebel, so it was just going to happen regardless.
Yeah. So you grew up with both your parents?
Nah, they separated when I was like 8.
But they were both in your life?
They both were in my life.
Super important part of why you are who you are today.
Yeah, like I always say like how my father's side is like that spiritual, like going to church, you know, the grind, like you always got to have a job, take care of your responsibilities and everything like that. Like my mother's side is like the projects. Like my mother grew up in the projects.
Which projects?
Grafton Avenue.
Oh, fire.
Yeah, so she, like my whole side of my family kind of grew up in that. But the thing about it is they also were grinders, but their hustle was just a little bit different. So I always lived by the whole book smart, street smart narrative because I learned in 2 different ways. But one thing I would say about my moms and my dad, they was like, yo, you're going to get an education. Like you're not going to be like these knuckleheads that's on the block and stuff like that. So, I mean, just fast forward to like, those things that happened within that time span, and after graduating college and then coming back home to my city, you know, I learned differently on how to become a black man. You know, I graduated from an HBCU, Lincoln University in Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir.
And I stayed out there for about 5 years in PA, came back to Newark. I was like, I want another young black man to go through the same experience. Well, not the same experience, but getting to college, showing that I came from your neighborhood, you can do it too.
Right.
But I think it was just a lot of learning because I was still numb to a lot of things, right? Like, granted, you know, I got degrees, I got certs, I got all that stuff like that, but I didn't know what the certification of trauma was. You feel me? Like, I didn't know that I'm in my 30s now, and it's like, it took me this whole time to know that I had all these traumas. Maybe I was ignoring all these things, right? But, you know, it took like a past relationship. It took like people that I thought were friends to show me like, you know, I allowed a lot of things to happen. So I think within my traumas, I try to do a lot of blaming on other people.
Right.
But the thing about it is, to actually heal, you have to acknowledge that you allowed those things to happen. Granted, you might not have been educated or aware, or your intuition wasn't strong enough to say, okay, you're not supposed to be around these type of people, or you're not supposed to be in this space, or you need to know how to walk away from things. I didn't know how to do that. Like I've always was like so compassionate, right? I want people to win. I want people to become families. I want like it was hard for me, bro. So
no, but I mean, and I understand that's disruptive. It's just because when you say that, I'm thinking of the times, like even the other day I spoke to a friend of mine, and she was talking about how, she just ended a relationship. Well, the real person she was in a relationship just ended with her. And she was telling me, hey, I feel so bad because I know he was a good person, but I pushed him away and I did this and I did that. But then, like, you gave it 5 minutes later, she's like, but he knew I had these traumas. He knew I had these issues. He didn't push me to go to therapy. And I said to her, you're not even taking responsibility for the fact that you know that you have these traumas and you have these things that you have to deal with. And now you're saying it's his fault because he didn't push you to go. But I said, if you really saw the value in him, now that he's gone, you would have done the work first. Even if you're doing the work while you're in the relationship, you would have done the work while you were there. You're not waiting until it's over. Now you're saying it's his fault, because until you take full responsibility for the fact, not for the traumas, but for the work that has to be done, once you realize that they are there, you will continue the same cycle over and over and over again. And I feel like God puts you in these places where if you don't learn, or if you don't learn from whatever situation you're in, then God will allow it to happen to you over and over and over. Because a lot of people cry out, they look up to the skies and to the heavens and say, God, why me? When really the conversation should be, God, what do you want me to learn from this?
Yeah, I think everybody's prayers need to be different. Like, we always ask God, like, bless me with this, bless me with this, bless me with this. I want this in my life. He hears us,
right?
And he will bless us. But the thing about it is, I think we're not asking God to prepare us for these blessings. Mm-hmm. We want the blessings, but we don't want to prepare ourselves for these blessings, right, or the things that are supposed to come in my life. And just what you were saying in reference to the relationships, my past relationships made me just think about trauma bonds. Right. Like, I didn't know anything about trauma bonds until my past relationship. See, I ignored a lot of red flags just because, I was blinded by love.
Right.
I was always raised like, you honor the woman, you take care of the woman, you protect the woman, you keep her safe. Like, anytime she's down, you pick her up, ride or die, like all that narrative, right?
Right.
And it was a time that my past tried to commit suicide, and I never been with a woman that ever did that. And I was like, yo, you need help. Like, that's not cool. Like, but then when a black woman says, I want you to protect me, I want you to help, a black man's not going to tell them, no, I'm not going to protect you. Right. But then I was put in an awkward situation. Like, I'm not going to tell my past relationship no. Right. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, but I still blame myself anyway, right, because I had a lot of things going on. I was always busy. I was ripping around. I mean, you know how I was moving. I was campaigning here, doing community service here, doing nonprofits here. Right. So I was emotionally unavailable. So I didn't know how to show emotion, but I knew how to embrace emotion if somebody gave it to me. Right. But I think that was me being an empath. I was taking on so many emotions, and I was not pouring it back into my own cup. Right. And I didn't know how to, I was always draining myself.
I always heard is this true that empaths usually attract narcissists?
It's a good, I'm not going to say 100%, but it happens. When I told it's so funny when I told my therapist, like, yo, my past told me all these things that, I'm a manipulator, I'm a narcissist, I always lay dormant to a lot of things and stuff like that. But then she was like, well, that's what usually manipulators and narcissists say, because they don't check themselves. And the thing about it is that, I really had to think about things that I've done. But I was like, you know what? It's not about this person. Right. Because you know how you have those, when you're in a high, you're in a high. When you're low, you're real low. There's like no median. Like, right. I always was the guy that liked to compromise. I didn't like arguments. I like healthy dialogue. Like, I used to run away from arguments. Like, I go in the park, probably roll up, or go to the just car. About that car therapy, just sitting in your car.
Yeah, like turn the music on.
Exactly. I don't like arguing. Like, that was just never me. So but the thing about it is I played my part, right? I wasn't perfect. Like, I've always felt like I could have been there emotionally and received that, but I just didn't know how. Like, I was just on a different type of platform. It's all about chasing this paper, traveling, making sure like I could start a family, making sure she was good and everything like that. But the thing about it is I never really checked myself internally. And that's why I said I don't blame her. Because granted, it was some things that I ignored because I just wasn't knowledgeable in certain like components about like traumatic situations, trauma bonds and stuff like that. What I was upset about is that I wish I would have known sooner. Like, so I would have been mindful. But you know what? It's not about shoulda, coulda, wouldas. It's like God lets you know at the right time. It wasn't my season to know.
Okay, and just to interrupt you on that, now talk about trauma bonds. Because most people don't even understand what trauma bonds are.
Okay.
So give me your breakdown of what a trauma bond is and what are some of the characteristics of it.
Well, trauma bonds is like, at the end of the day, it's like things that people don't realize that people come together or cohabitate because like they have traumas. Like, oh, their trauma is bigger than the next trauma. And then like they align themselves because of like their hurt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, this person might have, oh man, I slipped my wrist, or, you know, I got jumped, or like I went through so much, or I went through so much. So they build a relationship on trauma, because they feel like that's what keeps them together, because it's like, okay, they're like, it's like being in the mud with each other, being in the trenches with each other in them dark times. But I didn't really have like crazy trauma to talk about, because once again, I didn't know how to express my emotions. I always had a wall up. But when my past was telling me about these things, it was crazy, because I'm like, wow, like this girl needs help. Like but the thing about it is that makes me think, like, I was always in long-term relationships, like 3 years here, 5.5 years, 2.5 years. And when I found out this person has only been like maybe like 6-7 months, like here and there, I'm like, okay, wow, these are signs. But I ignored those signs, because I was like, that was her past. I'm not her past. I'm her present. And now she's with a man that's going to make sure she's going to be taken care of. But I think that's the problem, right? In relationships, people be looking for their other halves.
Right.
You can't sit there and look for a half if you're not complete yourself.
Right.
So it's no fault on either party, because they just didn't know that they weren't whole. And it's bad that it takes a negative situation to know that you need to work on yourself. So if anybody's going through any trauma bonds, or anybody's going through those relationships, like, oh, I need this man to complete me, or I need this woman, you don't need nobody to complete you. They need to bring value to you. And I think sometimes people need to step away from each other to just become whole first. And if God brings those people back in their life and they're in better spaces, then so be it. But sometimes y'all might just be walking in the opposite direction, and that's okay. But you have to always lead with love all the time. You can't wish negative or bad on anybody. If you felt like you were hurt here, or this person was hurt here, okay. But y'all didn't know how to sit there and discuss those things. Y'all didn't know how to compromise. Y'all didn't know, y'all wasn't speaking the right love languages and at that time. But that's okay. But that's why you grow. That's why you evolve. And if you're aligned with these individuals again, now the dialogue is different, because you're in a better space in life. And now you're able to have different conversations. But if you constantly continue to keep holding on to the past about, this MF did this to me, this, that, and the third did to me, or this girl created all these traumas and stuff, then only person you're doing is blaming yourself. You're gonna always remain stagnant. You're not taking no ownership for what you've done. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what I feel, that outside of just what we was discussing about the trauma bonds, people need to start acknowledging what they did wrong and taking ownership for so they can start moving accordingly in the proper healing. Right.
Because a lot of people don't take ownership for the fact that they end up enabling people.
Yes.
Like, and they stay in this place where they enable that person, and they don't deal directly. You know, there's 3 things I tell people to focus on all the time. You know, once you're moving into, whether it's business or it's a relationship, or if it's, you know, friendship, you got to be able to create, what are your expectations from this friendship? What are your boundaries? What are your non-negotiables? Because if you don't create that, if you don't set those boundaries, I mean, a lot of friendships and childhood friends, we've grown up and we've come together as children. So we've come from childhood together. So it's kind of hard for us to ever even be in a space where we're not, where we don't have these boundaries set, because we came up and we started together that way. You know what I mean? So now that we're in this space growing up as adults, when we're moving into these relationships, it's so important that we move forward with those things, because or else we end up enabling people. You know what I mean? And I think that, going into that, like, just being able to deal with these specific topics are so important in our community, because these things were never set and taught to us as children. You know what I mean? Like, and it's hard to say, like, I'm going to teach a 10-year-old what boundaries, expectations, and non-negotiables are. Right. But the conversation can be started because it's important.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think, but see, and this is, and I just want to, like, get back into yoga. So it's like something that's called kids yoga, right? Mm-hmm. And, you have a certain way, like, breathe like a dragon, or, like, but even though it's still helping you with your inhales and exhales, it's telling them, like, different narrations on how you control your breath, but they just using it, like, in, like, cartoons or animals. But I'm I'm going to be telling 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, I want you to know what alignment means. I want you to know what centered means. I want you to know what calm means. Like, they were doing teach back. So when we going back to these schools, like, we don't have to just do, like, the whole Blues Clues, or, like, how we were raised when we saw these, like, we have the opportunity to have them read these type of books. We have the opportunity to change the narrative. So, like, I guess that comes with being a great leader. So back then, I wasn't a great leader.
Right.
I was a part of a nonprofit that I founded, and then I had some great chapter officers, and I was always becoming a leader because I saw how other people were doing it. Right. So I was like, okay, I can do it like this. But sometimes when you're not adding, like, emotions and people understanding people's situations, mm-hmm. like, that could become a bad leader. Like, it was to the point, man, you gotta toughen that up, man. Like, right. we got business we gotta take care of. I got 3 or 4 jobs. I gotta do this. I gotta work late. Like, we all got problems, but we still gotta handle a business. So, like, my emotions probably came off as, like, snapping, or, like, not understanding people's problems as much like that. But I was always doing check-ins, like, yo, you good? Like, you need anything, you need any money and stuff like that. But when it came down to those tough times when I was drained and I used to have meetings, like, I didn't want to hear anything. Like, I didn't like, yo, I don't want to have no arguments. Like, let's just take care of business so I can go home. Like, that's it. But I had to learn how to follow again. Mm-hmm. And I had to humble myself on that, because, that wasn't a space. I didn't want to be that type of leader. I wanted to be a leader that understand and understand. Yeah. And I think when you can sit there and give your team flowers, tangible, intangible, of course, and you can just say, yo, you know what, if you need to take a day, take a day. Like, you know what, we got you. We're going to take care of everything you need. Like, we want you in a good space.
Right, and that's real, because a lot of times we don't give people that space to be able to say, yo, you're human. I understand right now you can't function because you're not in a great space. Right. Like, take the time. We expect people to perform. You know what I mean? Like, it's easier to say toughen up. We're all going through this thing called life. But as you know, we're all, like, we have all different biological makeups.
Right.
Everybody doesn't have the same biological makeup. Everybody doesn't have the same background settings. We don't come from the same households. We don't come from... All of us are raised completely different. So sometimes everybody needs an opportunity to reset. Now, for me, like, I know recently you did a detox.
Yeah.
So, what was the reason for your detox? And tell me what your detox was and why you needed it.
So it was 2. I did a water detox, and it was coincided with the intermediate detox. So, one thing, I'm about to be 10 months vegan, so I kind of changed my whole way of eating, but I just felt like I still, like, had a lot of toxins and stuff in my body that I need to go. So I saw something about water detox and how just drinking water, and, like, it releases all, like, the toxins, it cleanses your body, it makes your skin clear, but it also helps you gain clarity. And on top of that, I did something that was called an intermediate fast, where you only have like an 8-hour window to eat. So anytime that I was feeling like, oh man, I need to eat, I just filled myself up with water. And I'm not gonna lie, like I did it for 30 days, and it was like, I think those last 2 weeks I felt like drained. Like I felt like I didn't have the like nutrients in my body, like I didn't have no protein.
But intermediate fast?
The water fast.
Oh, the water fast.
Yeah, so it was like, because you're not eating anything. Like you're just drinking.
How many days was this?
Well, the water fast, so I went 30 days within the intermediate fast, but the water fast, I say I did it consistently for about 15. Because I ain't gonna lie, I slipped up. One of my peoples gave me like a lemongrass drink, so technically it wasn't water. It still has some confines.
15 days, just water.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Well, you mean fruits.
Okay, cool. All right. No.
Fruits.
When you say that, I'm thinking, I understand it. So there's no bread, no meat,
no bread,
rice.
no meat, no rice, no type of fiber or anything like that. Nothing, no grains, no nothing. It was like pretty much fruits, a little bit like eating carrots and stuff like that. But it was the point I couldn't work out. Like anytime like I try to do like an exercise, I felt like no, I just need to just sit still. Like I but the thing about it is I gained so much clarity.
Yeah.
In that space, it's like because it was all a mental thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself like,
everything is.
I can't do a water fast.
Yeah,
right
it's.
I don't need it right now. If I did a water fast right now, I would be.
I don't need
thin.
it. Let's just say that was my last one. I was like never again. Like the intermediate fast I will do because that definitely trained me eating between like to 12 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Right.
Like that little 8-hour window. So it's plus that's good because you're not really supposed to be eating late at night anyway.
Right.
You don't want to have all that on your digestive system while you're going to sleep and stuff like that. Right. So it was a process, bro. Like I really. But the thing about it is, I did lose some weight, but now when I'm building my protein back, like my strength is different, my core is different, my mind is different.
Right.
I'm thinking differently. My intuition is stronger. So I always say that it's good to have that detox, but I also had to take a social media detox because I just needed to be away from everybody while I'm doing this. I don't need so many different energies around me. I just need to be at peace. So I was traveling for about like 3 weeks. And I'm about to go travel again because I still have other things that I have to do within my my detox as well.
During this time, what was your relationship with God like?
Oh man, so I have these things that's called Walk with God. Mm-hmm. It was a place that I went to out west, where there were Joshua trees and mountains. And if anybody knows about the Joshua trees, the Joshua trees are like all in like the Western civilization, like how the way the branches are is like you're reaching for the heavens for prayer.
Right.
And where I was at, it was like kind of like it felt like it was like the desert. It was no cars, no houses, no nothing. And it was just the mountains and the trees and dirt and sand. And that was like the first time I think I ever heard God like because like how sometimes you have your music on, you walking in the park, or you're just walking, just listening to nature and stuff like that. But it was just silence. And it was just like God really like was talking to me right there. And it was at that very moment that I was like, you know what? I'm healing properly. I am walking by faith and not by sight. I am doing God's work. And the thing about it is I know I'm going to make mistakes down the road, but just make sure I honor him. And he's like, yo, listen, just always walk my path. You already done free will. Now I want you to do my will. Mm-hmm. You already know what free will feels like. So now, like if you trust in me,
free will versus perfect will.
Correct. Yeah. So now it's just God has made a way out of no way for me in many tough times, and I thank him for guiding me the way he did, because he knew that I was a work in progress. Mm-hmm. And I always was taught, even my therapist said that because she was very spiritual. Mm-hmm. She was like, if you are so many things, like if you're a narcissist, manipulator, all this, then why is God constantly continue to keep blessing you? You're allowing others to predict who you are and not letting the powers that be tell you who you are.
Right.
And that's when new experiences came, newfound foundations came, people that actually love me and not the idea of me or love me for an agenda. They start coming around.
Right.
I start building tribes, like you and I align more and stuff like that. So it's like God doesn't make mistakes. He brings the right people in your life at the right time, either to be a blessing or a lesson. So that's what I've been learning during this journey.
And that's amazing, because I know for a fact that once you release certain things that have holds on you, God will open a floodgate of blessings. But we just have to trust that something bigger, something better is coming. You know what I mean? And the wait in between is awkward. It feels like, man, did I make the right decision?
Mm-hmm.
But once we lean solely on God and lean into that discomfort, therein lies the blessing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that for me, when I look at like where you are and where you're going, it's just important for people to see that journey and where faith plays a part, because it's not a perfect journey. You know what I mean? You're going to fall. Like, even me, this is why it's called the Unconventional Christian Podcast, because this is not, I'm not here saying I'm perfect. I'm not here saying I am better than the next person, because I know in religion, one of the biggest things about religion that ends up being the issue is because we're more focused on religion than we are on relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Talk about it.
And I know for you, just even being somebody who does yoga, there's always that topic, like how can you balance Christianity or faith with a Buddhist religion? You know what I mean?
I'm so happy you said that. We just had a clubhouse about yoga and spirituality last night, and it was someone asked that, like, yo, you're a Christian man, you're Baptist, like how do you teach within that Hindu, like Indian culture and stuff like that? I was like, oh, that's simple. I serve one master, but I study all. Like there's no I can worship God but still read the Quran, still read the enlightenments of Buddha, still read the Yoga Sutras, the yamas and niyamas and pranayamas and stuff like that. Like I still can know about ancient Egypt and the deities and stuff like that. That doesn't change the fact that I still believe in one person, and that is God. But that doesn't mean I can't educate myself and others. I compare religion also to languages. Like, for example, say if you know somebody that's bilingual, trilingual, stuff like that, you might have somebody that can speak the Hindu culture, somebody that can speak Arabic, somebody that can speak this. So just because they can speak their language, does that mean they worship that person too, because they're actually speaking that native tongue? I think this religion warfare, or these boxes that we put ourselves in, it's just like, if you believe who you want to believe, I respect you if you're always bringing me peace and you're believing something that's making you a better person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to believe in God because I believe in God. If you believe in Allah, you believe in Buddha, if you believe in Hotep and things of that nature, then okay, that's kudos to you. You're just showing me another insight on how you could be a better person by believing in a higher power. That's not going to change my belief. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm cool with you becoming a better person if this person is making you that. And we need to just realize that we need to stop justifying people's religions. Like, yo, let people just be. And the thing about it is, that's what makes the community. If everybody just believed in one thing, I mean, where's the balance? Where's the duality? And everything like that. There's no harmony within that. Everybody's entitled, and everybody's opinion matters. And you just choose what you want to do with that opinion, right? I guess that goes back to when you was talking about my journey, because I was doing the 30 days of gratitude on top of all the fasting, right? So on my page now, I talk about what every day meant to me. And the last thing I just posted not so long ago was called permission. Like, we don't give ourselves permission to heal, to grow, to say no, having your no be as strong as your yes, to set healthy boundaries. Like, we don't give ourselves permission. We let outside innuendos and other people tell us how to live, but we don't give ourselves the permission to sit there and tell how we want to live and live on our own truth. And I think we need to realize that when you do that, that shows you're bringing your power back. You have to give yourself permission. Stop getting permission from everybody else and start giving permission to yourself.
Right. Because that builds a lot of resentment within. Because I think that a lot of times we put people first, whether it be in our relationships, whether it be in our businesses. We put other people first, and subliminally we're telling ourselves that we don't deserve to be first. We don't deserve the best. Like, it's so important that we create that time and that alignment for within, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of times we're like, oh, like, I mean, I know for a fact I'm a people pleaser. That's who I am. You know what I mean? I've spoken to my therapist numerous times, and we've had this conversation. And I think the biggest journey ends up coming out to, like, how do you deal with that, and how do you make sure that it doesn't cross your boundaries? So you start setting those things now in order to move forward. You know what I'm saying?
How have you been coping with that, being a people pleaser?
You know what it is? I just started, what I really found out is that 97% of the most successful people in the world say, in order for them to be so successful, they have to learn how to say no to certain things. The no is the key for it. You know what I mean? To be able to say no, I cringe saying no to people. So now, when I say no, I say it and I walk away from it real quick. I don't even sit there and toil over it, because you're saying yes to something that doesn't bring you peace, right? Or doesn't sit well with your spirit. Causes this tension within. You know what I mean? And you know all about tension, because tension is why people do yoga, is in order to release that. You know what I mean? They have to. But you're saying yes to so many things puts tension in your body, because your body takes count. You know what I mean?
Very true. I think, so I was also a people pleaser because I did not know how to say no. I felt like if I didn't support someone's event, or I didn't donate to this cause, or I didn't show up for somebody's program, I felt like I was going to be looked at differently. You know what I'm saying? So anytime somebody asks me, oh yeah, I got you. Meanwhile, I'm like, yo, bro, I need to get some rest. Like, I got my own projects I got to worry about, but I know if I don't do this, like, this person's not going to like me, or like, I'm not going to get love from this organization, or maybe I won't get a connect from this pro. So I always say yes. But then it was just like, you know what? After my therapist told me about that, like, yo, you got to stop always saying yes to things. You got to stop putting yourself out there. Like, I think it was because I feared abandonment. Right. And that was something, because I've been hurt so much. Right. So the fact that I feared abandonment, I was just like, all right, well, I think coming back to Jersey after college, everybody pretty much had their friends connects, and their college friends, their people they grew up with. Like, I was jumping from circle to circle to circle. You know what I mean? Being in PA for 5 years, right. Everybody pretty much solidified who they're with. So I was able to jump from this circle to this circle to this circle, but I didn't have a core circle. Right. So it was just like, all right, well, I could be friendly with them. But then we could get too friendly, right? Right. And then now you have to dial that back, because now you're giving up too much of your energy. So now, since I've been saying, I can't do that, and respectfully, of course, it's like, okay, that shouldn't make me a bad person because I said no. If you can't respect that, then that means you had an agenda this whole time. Right. And that's how I look at it. So I think you're doing the work, bro. Yeah. And I think just as a community, as Black men, it's so important that we lean into doing the work and just encouraging our brothers. You know what I mean? I feel like we're going to build some things this year to create that space, and a few other guys that I work with in making sure we have these uncomfortable conversations that allow us to be able to help break these generational curses within our community. And for me, this last part of this segment of it is more like a rapid fire for you right now, right? Okay. So, and you can kind of when you think of certain words, you can just tell me what that makes you, how does that make you feel? Okay. So, vulnerability. It's a one-word answer?
No, it doesn't have to be a one-word answer.
Vulnerability. Being able to cry is okay. Be able to tell another brother, I love you, is okay. Being able to open up to another human being is okay. Showing emotional intelligence is okay. Being open to receive and give, being open to show these emotions is okay.
Right.
And just being vulnerable is just living within your truth.
Okay. So the next part I want to touch on is unconditional love.
So you want to go philosophy on me now? Okay. Let's see. Unconditional love. Love that doesn't cost you anything. Love that is genuine. Love that is authentic.
Right.
Like that unconditional love is a love that you don't have to worry about someone asking for any. They're doing it because they just love you.
Right.
And not the idea of you, or not what you stand. They love you just for being the human being that you are.
Right.
That's what I feel like unconditional love is, because they put no conditions on how long they can love you or how long they can be with you. They do that because they express that for you, because that's what you gave them. That's a love language that's a lot of people haven't reached yet.
Okay. Jesus.
Oh man. You can't define, bro. That's a whole library, bro. Like Jesus, man, he is my light. He is my salvation. Not only did he die for our sins, but he uplift our spirits. Man, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, because that man always protected me, even in my darkest hour, along with the Father, of course. Jesus is my rock. Jesus, and even with him being my rock, he still has me run like water. And I'm just thankful that he's always been by my side when I called him.
If you died today, what do you want your legacy to be?
So I always thought about that, because y'all know these bodies are temporary. I want my legacy to be that when all else fails, Ty always found a way to not only put a smile on their face to inspire other people, but he helped me heal. He helped me become a better person. I always wanted to be that change agent for humanity. And the thing about it is, I never wanted no recognition for it. I just wanted to lay the footprints down, the road less traveled, so people can say there's another route. And just want these black boys and black girls to understand that I came from the same neighborhood they came from. And they too can be whatever they want to be if they decide to just choose their self first, just like I did. So the legacy would just be being an inspiration and just laying foundations for people to grow and make sure safe spaces still exist. So if that looks like a yoga studio, a meditation spot, a men's mentoring piece, just a brick and mortar that just has black men to go in and just like you said, just to sit still, just to go pray. Like, I want those type of foundations built. Like, some things don't even have to be tangible, but like, I just want my legacy just to know that Ty always led with love so he can live in peace.
My brother, I feel like you got to come back for a part 2 on here. But yo, I'm so thankful to have you on this show today.
I honor you, brother.
I honor you too. I love you. I appreciate you. And we're going to wrap with that. It's the Unconventional Podcast. Y'all have a blessed one.
Peace.
Peace.